Welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Chemists. Tonight, we'll be having the world-famous reunion night. Be ready for drama.
Now you're the one being snappy. Also, who asked?
Screaming.
You need to leave!
And the most tense moments between the chemists. Do you want to learn about chemistry? Come to the science classroom to learn about chemistry. Mr. Laz is a really good teacher. Join us. You won't regret it. It's so fun. Join the Church of Chemistry today, where you'll learn about real science. This ad was paid for by Mr. Laz. Now back to the main program.
So, I'm just gonna come out and say it. But we all know that my way of organizing the periodic table is the most convenient, right?
Egoismo?
Well, you wouldn't even be here without me.
Yeah, sure. But how come you didn't organize it yourself?
Can't we have some pay?
You didn't contribute anything to the organization of the periodic table, so don't talk.
On the periodic table.
Why do you think your way of organizing the periodic table is better?
I did not contribute to the organization of the periodic table. I'm just one humble and insignificant scientist in France. It is Mendeleev, that madman from Russia, that created the best and accurate version of the periodic table. With this table, I was able to find 4 new elements. Europium, samarium, dysprosium, and gallium. Yeah, all because of Mendeleev. Yeah.
The way I organize the periodic table is better because it's group elements based on their atomic weights and then chemical properties. And unlike some John Newland's his rule of octave, which doesn't always work. So I left gap where I know elements were missing. In this way, I can predict the properties of new elements before they are discovered.
Well, I didn't organize the periodic table per se. I just figured out a way to measure the weight of elements based on the relative mass of the atoms. And I did that by giving hydrogen an atomic mass of 1 and determining the rest of the elements relative to hydrogen. But yeah, without my work, Dmitry Mendeleev wouldn't have been able to create his version of the periodic table.
Thank you.
You can't even judge me, Dalton. You smell like garbage.
How dare you! I come from a pretty wealthy past, and I've earned quite a lot of wisdom over the years. In the periodic table's name, I was the one who founded the atomic theory!
Both of you, shush! You grow up wealthy and claim to be wise. But sure, I'm acting the part. See? I didn't come from similar childhood or early life, but I'm able to control myself better.
Okay, you know what?
Neither are you, Mr. Wise.
You need to leave! You need to leave!
What was your childhood like?
Yeah, my childhood, I grew up in Cognac, France. My papa was a wine business. He grew a wine business. Our whole family, we worked together to create this wine business, and we soon became pretty wealthy. My mom, she taught me a lot about the history and foreign languages, including Anglais. After learning Anglais, I was able to read lots of the foreign books and learn a lot about chemistry and science. After that, I started a lab with support from my family, and it was from then on that I thrived in the chemistry, or my favorite part was the spectroscopic chemistry. I was also married to my wonderful wife, Jeanette.
My childhood was not easy. I was born in 1834 in Kabul, Siberia, and as the youngest of 17 children. And my father was a teacher who went blind when I was young, and soon after he passed away. And my mother, Maria, was an incredible woman, very strong woman, and she took charge of our family by reopening a glass factory to support us. And when the factory burned down, my mother didn't give up. She took me all the way to South Petersburg, so I could get a good education. Sadly, she passed away not longer after we arrived.
I was born into a Quaker family. My grandfather was a shoemaker, and my father was a weaver. My dad married my mom, who was from a prosperous Quaker family. I was one of the 3 children that survived to adulthood. I went to a Quaker grammar school, and when I was 12, I helped my older brother, Jonathan, teach. And 2 years after that, we bought a school together.
Thank you.
I saw you got into an Eton Polytechnic. Shouldn't you have a bent hand on your shoulder?
Fahim Tabouche.
Oh yeah, and which college did you go to? Why don't you do some electron configuration and maybe you'll calm down a little? Or did your school not teach you anything?
Oh please, I traveled many kilometers from Siberia to go to the main teacher college in St. Petersburg, which, mind you, is a respected institution.
Said what said.
Can you give me the drinks menu, you old fool? No,
How were you educated?
Well, as I've said, I am blessed to have such a wonderful and caring mother who taught me about history and foreign languages. I was lucky enough to get the syllabus of École Polytechnique as the best education for me as a scientist. I taught myself through the courses when I was young in the extra time. I continued studying other books and repeated the experiments done. Yeah.
I was educated at a main teacher college in St. Petersburg in Russia. And to get me there, we traveled thousands of kilometers from Siberia to ensure I had to have more opportunity to receive good education. After graduating in 1855, I continued to devote myself to scientific research and finally become the professor.
When I was a young lad, I attended John Fletcher's Quaker Grammar School. When I was 12, John Fletcher turned the school over to my older brother, Jonathan, who asked me to help him teach. Then, 2 years later, we purchased our own school in Kendal, England, where we taught about 60 students. While I was a teacher, I drew upon the experiences of Elihu Robinson, who was also a Quaker, that was interested in science, and John Goh, who was a mathematician and scholar in Kendal. It was from these 2 men that I learned about math, Greek, and Latin. They were also good meteorologists, which led me becoming an avid learner about meteorology.
Thank you.
Okay, Dalton, if you're so smart, what were some of your contributions then? Huh?
I literally just said the atomic theory. Were you not listening? Ugh, I cannot believe this generation. I didn't even have half the technology you guys have in this area. Pay attention, please.
Aren't you an introvert? Every mention of you says that you're always quiet and kept to yourself. Why are you so grumpy and snappy in real life?
You know how long ago those books were written? Try being alive for 100 years and see how grumpy and snappy you get. Honestly, you youngins have nothing to complain about. My joints are practically rusted, and my frail bones make it increasingly painful to get out of my deathbed.
Enough out of you too. We all know I was the one who made the most contribution. I literally organized the periodic table.
I actually discovered 4 elements, you're one to top.
Bro, calm down. Now you're the one being snappy. Also, who asked?
Wait, I did. When I said you smelled like garbage, I meant that you were garbage.
Oh my gosh, will you two stop it? You're getting my nerves. This is supposed to be a normal dinner party. Don't be so negative. You're acting like an ion.
3, 2, 1.
What were some of your contributions and how are they used in modern society?
Dalton, let me first talk about Dalton. Dalton does not know what he's talking about. This is a new age. This is a new science. No one needs to talk about gases. We talk about spectroscopic chemistry. My work and research done on spectroscopic chemistry is excellent. I use this method to characterize elements and even found a relationship between atomic mass. This atomic theory is, let's just say, kindergarten type of material for me. More than what I have done in spectroscopy, I actually managed to isolate rare earth materials. Who said it was impossible? I believe it was Dalton. That mec, which is a word for bro in the French, is literally like 100 years old. He's just another old grumpy man. I heard that he even has 3 canes. What a loser. I should say that Mendeleev did indeed help me with the contributions to finding the 4 new elements, but what else did Mendeleev do?
One of my greatest contributions, of course, the periodic table of elements. Unlike the previous versions, might not only organize elements by atomic weights, but also group them by chemical properties. And I even left gap predicting undiscovered elements. So modern society still rely on my periodic table as the basis of chemistry. And it is vital in education, research, and industry. And scientists use it to predict element behavior, develop new materials, and understand chemical reactions.
Because of my interests in meteorology, I discovered that the atmosphere is actually a physical mixture of gases instead of a specific compound of elements. Air is 80% nitrogen and 20% oxygen, which sparked an interest in chemistry for me. I figured this out because I measured the capacity of the air to absorb water vapor and the variation of its partial pressure with temperature. Another contribution I made was the atomic theory, which states all matter is composed of small particles called atoms that cannot be subdivided, created, nor destroyed. Atoms of the same element are the same in size, mass, etc., and atoms of different elements have different sizes, masses, etc. I also discovered the law of multiple proportions, which states that when 2 elements combine into compounds, the weights of one element that combine with the fixed weight of the other are in a ratio of small whole numbers, which basically just means you can't have a fraction of an element. So it has to be 1 or 2 or any other whole number of this element combining with another element whose amount is also a whole number. My contributions were so important that I received multiple honors throughout my life. And in Manchester, more than 40,000 people marched in my funeral procession. Although I'm a Quaker, so I should be more modest. But I am. I'm just talking about what happened in my life. I'm not bragging or anything. And without me and my contributions, Mendeleev and Boris Barjan wouldn't even be here at this dinner party. Some credits Mendeleev for being the only one creating the periodic table or being the father of the periodic table. I'm gonna throw some hands. You're gonna cut this out, right? Right?
Thank you. What elements did you find?
4 elements. I found 4 elements. That's 4-0 for Dalton. Dalton found no elements. You want me to name them? Yeah, I know you want me to name them. Okay, here it goes. The gallium, 1-0. Europium, 2-0. Samarium, 3-0. Dysprosium, 4-0. Yeah, suck it. Okay, I'm not allowed to say that. You can cut it out.
Thank you.
Actually, I didn't discover any elements by myself, but I did something just as important. I predict the existence and properties of several elements before they were discovered. For example, gallium discovered in 1875 matched my prediction almost exactly. So, well, I didn't find element with my own hand, but my periodic table guide other scientists to discover them. That's the genius of my method. It wasn't just organize what we know, but also predicting what was yet to come.
This is kind of awkward. So I didn't discover an element, but I did discover the atomic theory and the law of multiple proportions. So yes, I'm gonna keep rubbing it in everyone's face because without my discoveries and contributions, nobody here at this dinner party would even be here. I'm a discoverer of the nature of matter, not elements.
Thank you. What are some of your theories?
The spectroscopic theory. That's it. No need for further explanation.
Bro, I'm the father of periodic tables. My greatest achievement, of course, is develop the periodic law. So the idea is that elements exhibit repeating patterns of properties when arranged according to their atomic weight. So this is how I create the periodic table in a way that really makes sense. So other chemists try to force elements into embarrassed patterns, but I focus on chemical properties and let the pattern show out. And I'm not afraid to lift gap when something doesn't fit, anticipating that new elements will eventually fill it. And guess what? I was right. I accurately predict the existence of elements such as gallium and germanium, and before they exist was not. So when they were finally discovered, they match my prediction almost exactly. That's how you know my method works.
Thank you.
Do I really need to explain it again? The atomic theory, people! The atomic theory! I was the father of the atomic theory. I'm also credited as the father of meteorology. But how many times do I have to repeat this?
Thank you.
Do you guys even follow me on periodictable.com? Do you even read my blog? I post every single day of my new discovery. That's why you two are lagging behind your studies.
Do you follow my blog, atomicmass.com?
What about mine? GalliumFounder.com.
I think it's happening again.
Dalton?
Yeah, it's that again.
Well, that solves one problem.
Final, some peace and quiet.
So, do you think we should move him?
Nah, let him rest. He's had a long life.
He's literally decomposing in front of us.
So, more room at the table for actual scientists?
Thank you to the Royal Society of Chemists for sponsoring the same excuse of a dinner party.
So do we just leave him here or?
Nuts. Let's order our dessert first.